All right, and greetings. Welcome back once again, my friends, to another episode here, Red Delta Project podcast, and maybe a live feed Q&A. We'll see if anybody shows up here today, because today I'm breaking tradition a little bit. I usually do these things on Saturday afternoon, but starting in the new year, my schedule is going to be quite different as I'm taking on another role in employment, and I'm playing around with different times to do these live podcasts. And well, one of the times I'm looking at is Wednesday afternoons and evenings here. So we'll see if this works for anybody, but welcome, my friend, here. Today's episode is all about taking back control over your diet and exercise habits, your fitness destiny, if you will. Because there's an ironic thing that happens in fitness when we get into it, which is that we all come into the world of health and fitness seeking control over our body. Whether you want to lose weight, you want to build muscle, you want to improve your performance, your health, whatever you're going after, people are coming into fitness saying, I want more control over the condition of my body, how it looks, feels, and performs. And oftentimes we're looking for, well, what's the thing that's going to give me that control? What diet, what workout program, what tools and things give me control? Naturally. The uh, shame of it, though, is that, like a lot of areas in life, those who seek power and prosperity at your expense will try to convince you that in order for you to win, you have to outsource your power to them. This is very common rhetoric in business, in politics, in other aspects of life where they're like, oh, you want to be free of this negative consequence. You want to feel safe and secure and feel like you have control. Well, here's the thing though, you can't have control because you're the sorry sinner, you're inherently lazy, you're inherently going to just eat nothing but junk food. So therefore, if you want to actually have control over the things that you're fearful of, you have to give me your power. You have to give the expert the power, or the politician, or the guru, or whoever, and saying, let me take charge for you, because you can't do it for yourself. Because if you could do it for yourself, you would have already done it. So therefore, you can't trust yourself. You have to give me the power. And this is an idea that gets indoctrinated even when you're young, like in the school system here in Western world in America, where it's like, oh, you shouldn't trust yourself over a hunch in a test and everything. You need to uh, confer with the teachers and everything in order to, quote, get it right. And so this fear persists in our fitness culture, where if you trust yourself and if you do things on your own to even the slightest degree, then you're going to run yourself right against the rocks. There's a problem with this, though, which is, one is, with the outsourcing of control, you also often outsource your self-esteem and self-worth. And this is very prevalent here in the Western world, here in America, where you're not supposed to hold yourself up and be self-confident. You're supposed to outsource your self-worth and your ability to do things on how much money you make, the approval of strangers, the approval of those on social media, how much people find you attractive, accolades, and things that you do in your job. Like, you get praise and awards and trophies that gives you self-worth, and things that make you basically feel like, yes, I am self-worthy. And the introspective forms of self-worthiness are discouraged. And the more you seek this external outsourced validation for self worth, the more it eludes you, because you're never going to have enough. Because, of course, your self worth is something that can only be produced from within. So if you have a deep, bottomless pit of a black hole of self worth within, you can just endlessly suck in endless amounts of accolades and praise and accomplishments, and it's never going to be enough. And boy, am I speaking from experience on this one. And it's the same thing in fitness, is that if you're outsourcing your security, your success, your ability to get the results that you want entirely on external sources, you're never going to find that full control. You may feel like you have it for a short period of time, like, oh, I found this diet that gives me full control over my weight levels and my body fat level. Or I found this perfect workout program that builds muscle and will control my aesthetics and my strength. But this is an illusion. Control ultimately is an illusion. And so when we are always looking for external sources of control or validation, it always eludes us to a large degree. Because what we honestly need is internal, self guided approaches towards the things that we want. We have to do it somewhat for ourselves. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't rely on others in order to do it. Of course, the experts and external sources are certainly valuable in providing information and education and ideas and inspiration. We still need that stuff. But what I'm talking about is 100% handing over the reins of the entirety of your control to something else. And that's why a lot of times people will come to me and they'll be like, I just need the program that's going to work for me. I just need the diet or the workout or something that's going to spell out exactly what I need to do to the letter. Exactly how many grams of protein do I need to eat for breakfast? How many calories do I need to eat per day? How many sets and reps? Give it to me in explicit detail, exactly what I need to do. And this is, again, coming from a lack of self-worth of, I can't make choices for myself. I can't make these decisions for myself because I'm afraid of getting it wrong. Plus, there's the rhetoric in our fitness culture saying, you can't trust yourself with this kind of thing. You can't trust yourself to figure it out on your own. You have to let the experts handle it for you. You have to be, led by the hand and coddled every step of the way because you're the one who can't do anything right. And therefore, we outsource to external validation, external information, and external guidance all the way, but feeling like I can't do it at all for myself. When the fact is, the more you do that, the less control you actually have, the less you're going to be able to grab the wheel with both hands and direct your vehicle on where you actually want to go. Because ultimately, external sources are never going to be enough. They're just never good. There's no program, there's no diet, there's no book you can read. There's nothing out there that's going to be a complete 100% solution to everything you need for the rest of your life. It can be very valuable, it can be great. That's why I write all my books and everything. But you're never going to find that 100% complete solution from something else that's going to give you everything you need. It's just never going to happen. And the more you look for it, the more it's going to elude you for many reasons. Number one is that we're all unique and we're all different. And as a coach, I could tell you, I can't tell you exactly what you need if I don't know you and I don't know your circumstances and your situation. So that's why I'm a personal coach. I meet people in person. I cannot write a book that's going to give you all the answers that you need. No one can. This podcast sure as hell can't do it. My videos, everything else can't be that complete solution, which means you have to fill in the gaps. You have to do it for yourself. You cannot get it from other folks. And if you don't trust yourself to do that and you don't believe you have the strength to do that, you're just never going to finally grab that wheel with both hands and take control. And then finally, if you are in a situation where you're like, oh, my program is great, my diet is great and stuff, it's not going to stay that way. It's going to change. We've all come across this scenario where we feel like, I think I've got a full solution here. I think this is it. I think this diet that I read about in this diet book or this workout program that I found on a YouTube video or stuff, I think this is it. I think this is the happily ever after golden ring that I've been looking for. And it can be that for some time, but I guarantee you it's not going to stay that way because change happens. It's going to be something that is no longer going to be a good fit sooner or later. So the reason why this works is because you have to make your own decisions. You have to make your own calls to some degree along your journey. And when you're a beginner and you're just starting out, absolutely, it makes all the sense in the world to just sit down and be like, Coach, I have no idea what I'm doing. Give me direction. Tell me what to do. That's great. When I was learning how to scuba dive years ago at a resort course in Grand Cayman, I was like, I know zero about scuba diving. And I know if I get something even a little bit wrong, things can go sideways. And when you're 60 feet underwater, that's a bad place for that to happen. So everything the instructors were telling me were like, yep, I'm going to definitely do what they tell me to do. But as you get experience and as you get feedback from what you're doing, you're going to be able to have more self assurance and self reliance over these things and take more control for yourself. And that's why it's important. Not only because you're going to know far better for what's going to actually work best for you, but it's a consistency thing as well. There's this analogy that a former coach and employer of mine gave me the other day in one of his videos. And he said, it's like a skin graft. And stay with me on this one. He's like, seriously, a skin graft. If you need a skin graft, you're in a hospital, emergency situation, you got three scenarios. Scenario one is they use the skin of another animal on you. Pig or even salmon or fish and stuff like that can be grafted onto you. Now, this is a Band-Aid at best. It's a very temporary solution used in emergencies just to get you to survive a little bit longer because it's not human skin. It's so foreign and different from yourself that the rejection rate is very high and it doesn't last very long. But at least it gets you from, point A to point B, and then you can take further steps to hopefully save your life or, be able to be treated. Option two is skin from a donor. This can be from a donor in the hospital or a family member or something like that. The adaptation of this, and it works a lot better and it lasts a lot longer, but the rejection rate is still relatively high and inevitable. It just lasts longer because it still isn't your skin. And then the third option, which is the best option, is you get a skin graft from your own skin. It's taken from a different part of your body, or they take some of your skin cells and they grow them in a petri dish and then apply them to your areas that need it. This is the ideal situation because it's your solution. It's your skin. And the same thing happens in health and fitness, is that the rejection rate, the more external the thing is, the higher the rejection rate is. But the more it's your personal thing that you're taking ownership over, the lower the rejection rate is and the better it works for you, which is why trying to find that personal solution from a more external thing like a podcast like this or a book or whatever is going to probably have a much higher rejection rate, and you're never going to find that perfect fit. We could try 100 different types of animal skin on a burn victim. Nothing is ever going to fit because it's just too external. But the more you're making your own judgment calls and you're making your own decisions, the better the adaptation is, the more it takes. And that's why, as a coach, I'm not just going to sit down and just be like, do as I say, do it as exactly this sort of thing. My role as a coach is to work with people. If someone comes to me and they're like, I think I need to improve my diet in order to build more muscle, I'll often just go like, okay, give me 3 things you can do to improve your diet this week. And inevitably, they'll always give me something really good. They'll be like, well, I don't drink very much water. I drink way too much beer. And I usually don't get any protein until dinner time. So I should probably eat more protein. That's awesome. That's great. I never in a million years would have guessed what they need because I would just go off of guesswork and assumption, which is what the more external sources of information will give you. It's largely based on just guesswork and assumptions. I'm guessing you need to drink less. I'm guessing you need to eat less junk food. I'm guessing you need to be more active. These are good guesses based on assumptions, but they're not you. They're not curtailed to what you need. But the more I work with someone, I'm like, okay, well, what's the challenge that you're coming across in your workouts? Well, this exercise doesn't feel quite right. It hurts this area or something like that. I'm like, great. Now that gives me information on what I can do to help them because it's coming from them personally. So the bottom line is, if you want more control, you have to stop outsourcing that control to external sources like folks on social media, books you read on, your Kindle or whatnot and stuff. And I know it's like, yeah, I produce all this stuff. I have podcasts and videos and loads of books and everything like that. And this is great information, but I want you to take this information and then use it however you want. Don't feel like I'm going to give you a step-by-step exact instructions because honestly, I'm just guessing. I'm just pulling it out of thin air. I'm basing it on absolutely nothing. And I can give you something if you want, but it's not based on anything. And do know that the rejection rate is probably going to be very high. I give you 2 weeks at best on a program like that. And this is from over 20 some odd years of coaching people that if I give them something like that, there's probably 1 out of 1,000 people that'll still follow that program past a month. It's just the rejection rate is so high because it's not theirs. But the moment they start making their own choices of like, okay, I know this program says to do legs twice a week, but I run a lot and I'm also a bump skier in the winter. I feel like I'm better off working my legs in the gym once a week. Yeah, you probably are. Why? Because you know your body and your lifestyle a lot better than I do. So you're going off of your own choices and you're using discipline to steer your own ship. I'm just here for the guidance and inspiration and some ideas. But if you want to take back control, you have to have ownership over your diet and exercise habits. And the more you outsource the control of those things, the less ownership you have. And there's just something about the human psyche that just kills motivation when you have too much externally outsourced things. Let's get to some questions here. By the way, I'm using a different microphone here, folks. Can you give me a little feedback on how my audio sounds? I usually do this through the mic, just the standard one here on my computer, which is good, but I've gotten some feedback on it that it's not really that great. So tell me if this works, if it's good or is bad or whatever, because I can't hear it. I don't have a monitor on it right now. But anyway, Active Adam says, I'm 41. This is my most sedentary year as an adult. I retired from triathlon last year. Wow, triathlon's pretty hardcore, man. Good for you. Been adrift. What mental recommendations do you have for getting back on track for general training? Thank you. Oh, this is a fantastic question because we all have those scenarios in life where we have disruption. Life happens. Work, illness, injury. I am right there with you, Adam. This has not been a good year for me either. I've had pretty much the entire year, I've either been battling illness or injury, some form the entire year. So I'm right there with you. So what you want to do here is start with things you're already somewhat familiar with. So your triathlon, so running, swimming, biking. Do you have any conditioning exercises that you've used as well? Were you taking a kettlebell class at some point or something like that? Start with what you already know and what you know has worked for you. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I did this one exercise and that was always great and I always felt amazing doing it this way, there you go. The beauty of what you're doing here, though, is that you no longer have to conform to the guides of a race anymore if you're not doing the triathlons anymore. So you can literally just go ride your bike for any amount of time and distance you want. If you want to stop on a mountaintop and take in the view, you can. You don't have to wear your heart rate monitor. If you want to just go for a run around the neighborhood for the sake of getting your heart rate up, you can do that. So what I would do if I were you, Adam, is make a plan to do 3 things this week that you've done before that you just inherently want to do for the sake of the fun of doing it. What kind of run do you like? Do you have a favorite route or a running trail that you used to do? Do you have a particular exercise you like to do? Just ease into it. You don't want to feel like, oh, I got to catch up and make up for lost time or anything like that. You want to feel like I'm just doing something productive for myself again. I'm moving forward from my current state. You're not making up for lost time or running to catch up. You're just moving forward. So it's all progress no matter what you do from here on out. So that's what I would do. 3 things you're going to do this week. It could dust off the kettlebell. I'm just guessing. See, all I can do is guess. I don't know what you like to do. Go for a bit of a run. Just nice and easy. Get into the groove. Feel good. Make it a top priority to feel good about what you're doing. Because if you feel good, that's going to spur more motivation to continue doing that thing, and you'll be off to the races. Hopefully that helps you, my friend. Some unknown hacker. Well, if I know your screen name, you're not unknown now, are you? I bought all your books in Black Friday. I'm literally in the middle of playing around with my NOS suspension drainer right now. Fantastic, my friend. Good job. Well done. If you have any questions on the NOS, or if you're looking for any setup ideas and stuff, if you're new to it, let me know. Start here. Suspension calisthenics, since you got that suspension drainer there. Start with this book, if that's one of the ones you picked up, suspension calisthenics, how to turn that portable set of suspension straps into the weight machine that you can take anywhere Start there. And as always, folks, if you need to get in touch with me, reddeltaproject@gmail.com. That's the best way to reach me directly. I have the Instagram and the TikToks and everything like that, but seriously, I don't get on social media very often. If you DM me a message or something, it could literally be weeks until I get back to you. So just send me an email and I'll definitely get back to you within a day or two if you have any questions. So fantastic. Me mine. Thank you very much for the post here, guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, donate $5. Thank you very much. It is the holiday season, folks. Much appreciated for that. Let's go into speaking of kettlebells here. What are your thoughts on the Turkish get-ups? Is it actually helpful or is it normally gimmicky circus trick kind of thing? So there's two things to unpack here real quick. Going along with our theme tonight of taking control for yourself is to hell with my thoughts on it. Like, my thoughts should really not matter to you very much because my thoughts and feelings about something is going to matter to a hill of beans when it comes to your motivation and your ability to get what you want out of it. Okay? It's your thoughts about it. It's your thoughts and ability to, or your opinion on it that matters most. No matter what you do in life, you're going to have those out there who are going to be like, that's stupid, that's dumb, only idiots would do that. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And you're also going to have people say, this is the best thing ever. You need to do this. You can't call yourself a man unless you're doing this exercise or whatever. Both opinions are entertaining, but they ultimately are not that important because your own opinion is the one that is by far most important because that's what your motivation's tied to. Now, me personally, there's two ways to look at the Turkish getup. Number one is it's kind of like a burpee. It does a lot of things for you in a short period of time with one relative movement pattern. So it's like a Swiss Army knife. It's a lot of functions in a small, compact thing. So in that regard, it's fantastic. It has also, it's got shoulder stability going on. It's got core stability. You got hip drive. You've got your lunge basic motion there. You've got your chest press, overhead press. There's a lot going on with that. And for that, it's awesome. So if you're ever like, I just want something to give me some general strength stuff, so I can not die early kind of stuff. Awesome and great. Some people also, they just like doing it. There's plenty of stuff out there that the only reason to do it is it just makes you feel good. Like, I don't know why. I just like how it makes me feel. I just feel good when I do it. I'm like, that's reason enough to do it right there, right? But my personal take on things is that, like the burpee, it does a lot of things, but I would argue it doesn't do anything very well other than make you good at Turkish get-ups. Like if you're coming to me and you're like, I want to be really good at overhead press and lunges, I would give you more direct training. Practice your overhead presses, practice your lunges and your carries and things like that. Go more directly after what you want. So that's my take on it, but yours is the one that matters. So that's why I'm not really a big fan of techniques and exercises and stuff that do a whole bunch of different stuff. I'm very particular about what I want out of my training, and what I want is very focused and very directed. So my training follows suit. I don't do burpees. I don't give anybody burpees. It's a great exercise for a lot of things. Excuse me, I misspoke. It's an exercise that helps you do a lot of things. It doesn't do anything well, though, other than get your heart rate up. And even then, if you're like, I want cardio, I'm like, okay, well, let's make sure it's going after something that's more applicable for you. So that's my general thoughts on it. But it's all about what your feedback is. Because that's the thing, folks. If you don't know something, too, if you're like, oh, I don't know, this guy says this about the Turkish getup, and this guy says this other thing, and other thing. Again, when you're outsourcing ideas and opinions and feelings about something, you're never going to figure it out for yourself. You're just not. You're just going to keep getting ping-ponged back and forth between the two things and paralysis by analysis. So that's why the ultimate tool in our arsenal to build self-confidence and direct your own ship is roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and experience the darn thing. And that's going to tell you the most valuable information you will ever come across about that thing. More than the entirety of the internet, more than AI and social media, all of it combined for the next 1,000 years. It doesn't matter. If you try something and you're like, oh, this thing is great, I am loving this, there's your answer. Go with that. The other stuff does not matter. Unless you're like, okay, how do I improve the Turkish getup? And there you go from that. Like, case in point, right? I've been playing around with these. These are blood flow restriction cuffs. Lots of stuff out there I find online. Some people love it, some people don't. Does it matter? No. I bought these on Amazon, and I'm like, the only way I'm going to learn about this for myself on whether or not it's going to be good for me is if I actually do it and practice. I've had a couple workouts in, I've gotten some valuable feedback. I'm going to keep learning about little ways on what I can do to improve it and get as much out of it and stuff. But that's what matters most. I don't give a damn if the greatest strength coach in the world says it's worthless. That's completely trivial. They could also say it's the best thing in the world. Doesn't matter. Your opinion is the one that matters most by far. And the best way to have a valid opinion is with experience. Because if you don't have experience about something, you can't have a valid opinion on it. An unknown hacker, I skipped this earlier, saying, have you considered producing a content focused on resistance bands? I found them to be very useful. Yes. Excuse me here. I've got, let me see if I can't pull these out. So this is my resistance band collection from a company called Vector Athletics. I've got reviews already on, if you just search on my YouTube channel, resistance bands, you're going to find a bunch of information. And to be honest with you, I've never, well, let me rephrase that. I used to be huge into resistance bands because I was always about what kind of ways can I strengthen and condition my body without depending on things like gyms and a lot of expensive equipment and stuff. And bands are great for that. Portable, simple, cheap, versatile as hell, right? But I kind of got out of resistance band training when I got into actual weights because they do have some downsides when it comes to strength training again, I go into it with other things, but bottom line is, for the most part, I'm not a big fan of them for me. Again, you could use them and find they're the best thing ever. That's what you should listen to, and to hell with what I say. But I am using bands a lot more now in conjunction with calisthenics as a source to augment the resistance of calisthenics, both for adding resistance and assistance. And I did a podcast on that, and I've got videos again here. If you just, again, search resistance bands, then you're going to find a lot. And I'm going to actually write a book on it as well, because bands for the sake of augmented resistance on a body are really fantastic. They have huge advantages over things like weight vests and dip belts and things like that. So yeah, I'm starting to come around and like them for different applications. And again, how do I know that? Experience, pure and simple. I have the guy who produces these. You know, I have a link on the website. If you look, these are cloth. These are much more comfortable than latex bands for a lot of the applications I'm using them for. He's like, what about using resistance bands with calisthenics? And I was like, oh, I don't really want to do this. I don't really like resistance bands, but what the hell? I'll give it a shot. You always got to try and experiment with stuff too. And within a couple of workouts, I was like, man, these things are great. This is fantastic. The feedback I was getting was fantastic. I was like, okay, learn something new every day. But the only way I would know that is if I did it. I could look at a million websites and ask ChatGPT, what do they think about resistance bands? Are they effective for building muscle? Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. I just did a couple of workouts, experimented, played around with some exercise, and I'm like, whoa, man, this is a heck of a lot better for me than using a dip belt. Hell yeah, this is great. So that's the journey that I've been on, and I will be producing more content, but I already have quite a bit of content that you can check out if you just search resistance bands on my channel. I think it's under the weighted and progressive and weighted calisthenics playlist too. That's the weighted and calisthenics conjunction because, you know, again, I wrote the book, you know, weighted and progressive calisthenics. It's one of the several disciplines of grind style calisthenics. And this is where I usually tell people to start if they're looking to build muscle with bodyweight training. Start with this book here because this gives you the best foundation for building muscle and strength with bodyweight training. But I digress. I know I got to show my own stuff here. But again, it doesn't matter. Like, this stuff is just tools. It's no different than going into a hardware store and buying a hammer. All right. This book, the information in this is just a tool. It's a hammer. It does not get you results. Nothing can. It's just a guide. It's up to you to take this and then use it in your own application. Let's see. Homework. Good to see you. What do you think of the recent trends in Mike Mentzer's lower rep range? Thanks a lot from your previous suggestions on helping my lower back pain with pointing out my toes. Oh, fantastic. I'm glad that's helping for you. Let me make things real simple for you. Again, this is the outsourcing thing. Mike Mentzer's lower rep. I don't care what Mike Mentzer did. He's got nothing to do with me. The man was a professional bodybuilder, and that alone, being in a competitive arena, is a different class of lifter. Steroids are also something to consider, part of the equation as well. So it's very much apples and oranges when you compare these sorts of things. So here's the way to think about it is when we are lifting, we've got strength, endurance, and hypertrophy. Now, if you are contracting your muscles with more tension, that's stimulating strength. So the lower rep range, higher weights. If you are going the opposite direction, higher repetitions, lower weights, that's more for endurance, naturally. And stimulating hypertrophy is more about challenging your overall work capacity, pushing your muscles close to failure and getting enough volume that your muscles are pretty cooked at the end of the session. Now, the beautiful thing about hypertrophy, because when people talk about Mike, they're talking about building muscle usually. They're like, what about doing it this way? What about doing it that way? What if you're like, when we understand the fundamental nature of how fitness works, we understand that it really is very little to do with the actual program you're using. It's just, are you achieving your fundamental objective? Are you challenging your muscular work capacity? Can you do it lower reps? Absolutely. But if you're using a fairly low volume, you may need more sets in order to do that. If you're doing it with higher repetitions, you need to do, or lower weight, then you need more repetitions to do it. If you're not pushing yourself very close to failure, then you need more exercises and more sets. You can do it in any number of ways. It's just a question of, well, do you want to do it this way or do you want to do it that way? Either way, you can go about it. So a lot of times when people get into these debates of, does this program work, does this not work, and what, it's largely a worthless debate because it's like, look, as long as you're still challenging your work capacity, that's all that matters for the results. And the more important question to ask yourself, and again, taking back more control, is it going to be an easier way for you to achieve that goal? That's the money question right there. Because right now, I'm doing the Red Delta Project 24 Days video series. I do this every December, kind of like an advent calendar. And this year's theme is making this whole fitness thing a hell of a lot easier and much more effective. And the guiding compass needle that you want to kind of follow is, here's my objective, in this case, building muscle or challenging our work capacity. What's just going to be whatever the easiest way for you to do that? Because whatever's easier is going to make sure you do it more consistently, more effectively, and to a higher degree. And so if you tried lower rep, higher weight strength training, and you're like, geez, it just feels like I can't really push myself because my nervous system is more taxed, well, then there's your answer. It's not the best way for you. Someone else could have the opposite reaction. Your feedback is the honest information you need to pay attention to. And then you have to have confidence in yourself and the self-reliance to be like, yeah, I did the thing and it wasn't really, not there so much. And often you could say, okay, that's not going to work that well for me. Sometimes you can have that reaction and be like, okay, it's not working that well. Am I missing something? Is there something I'm not doing quite right? And you can go down rabbit holes to figure that out. But by and large, if you're not getting much positive feedback, well, it's probably not the best for you. And that feedback is what you should be paying attention to, because we have to have confidence in ourselves. And this is one of those lifting lessons that applies to life as well. The more you outsource your happiness, your self-worth, your confidence, and your proficiency and success to external variables, the less control you have, even if those variables promise control. Even if they're like, okay, I'm going to have this and then I'm going to have that, because the more you outsource those sorts of things, the emptier you become inside for those very qualities you're trying to develop. This took a lot of therapy for me to realize these truths here. I'm giving you like 3 years of therapy and thousands of dollars in this podcast here, because I used to have a lot of my personal self-worth and happiness outsourced to external variables. And so when those variables were in place, I was on top of the world. I was like, I'm unstoppable. I'm the king of the world, to quote the cliche movie quote. But boy, when those things collapsed or got compromised because they're external variables, I can't control them, or I have very little control over them. So I was always vulnerable to the collapse of whatever that variable was. Well, then my life is ruined. I can't even get out of bed in the morning. I'm so depressed. I'm so sad and upset with myself because this one thing or a couple of things that I put all of my external self-worth and validation and happiness on suddenly isn't there anymore, because of course you can't control those external variables to begin with. Then it's like, well, what am I even living for, kind of thing. But when you flip it around and you're like, I have self-worth, I have self-confidence, I have these things from within, then the external variables, they're still great, they're still wonderful. But if they collapse, it's like, it's not going to destroy me anymore. It's not going to be the end of the world. And the more we have that outsourcing to external variables, the less control you have, the more anxious you are about losing that control, and the more it can potentially hit you emotionally and mentally and even physically, and you have less control over that sort of thing. And the more you have dependence on external variables, the less freedom you have, because that's what Red Delta Project is all about. It's not just about fitness, it's about personal freedom to live life the way you want to live it, to do fitness your way. And the more you become dependent on external variables, the less control and freedom you have, and the more control and freedom someone else has. It doesn't mean you can't have these things. Absolutely. I've got, my carbon fiber racing mountain bike and road bike in my bedroom right there. They're fantastic machines. They're great. Do I need them to be in shape? Of course not. Right now it's snowy and crappy and I haven't ridden my mountain bike in 3 weeks. Does it matter? No. But there was a time I was dependent on that. And boy, if I didn't get my ride in like 48 hours, I was not a very pleasant person to be around because I was outsourcing my self-worth and my happiness on, I have to be on a mountain bike. I have to get in my cardio. Otherwise, it all goes to hell. Now I'm like, yeah, I don't need that stuff. I want it. It's great, but I sure don't need it. And therefore, I have more self-control and power over myself. And it's a lot better. It's a lot better, myself. Homework saying, I'll remember to focus on different methods of failure for some time: endurance, total weight, or capacity in general. Going to work out more if it's easier, though. Yeah, sure, go for it. Work out more, work out less. Again, play with different things. Go for the feedback. Because when we are so concerned about doing it right, this is another thing that got pressured into us when we were kids in school. You better do it right. You better not mess up. And it's like, oh gosh, I don't want to make a mistake, kind of thing. That kills our creativity. That kills our curiosity. That kills our ability to just experiment and play with things. I'm a DIYer at heart. I got some new straps coming in the mail in the next week because I'm just playing around with a new DIY suspension strap setup. Very excited about that. There's absolutely a high likelihood that I've wasted my money on those straps. I could use them, get them, and be like, yeah, this design sucks. Okay, that was $40 just wasted, but it wasn't wasted because it gave me experience. And I'll learn from that and I'll move forward. And I'll probably still just keep using my Nosk suspension straps because they've been the best for me for umpteen years because they're awesome. But I'm willing to experiment. And if we're not willing to fall on our face a little bit from time to time, then we don't explore. And if we don't explore, we're not going to find those solutions and those answers that are actually best for us. And we continue outsourcing our happiness and our self-worth and our validation and our success to other things and less control. No, Nijar is, yeah, Stoicism. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've read books on Stoicism and followed certain things, and yeah, very highly influenced by that sort of thing. Joseph, my man, coming on in. Good to see you, my friend. Matt, I've been doing more isometrics in my workouts, as you mentioned. Yep. No, that was another email. In my workouts, what do you think of doing 2 sets of 30-second hold and finish one good set of dynamic movement to burn out the muscle? So a lot of times I go with dynamic sets and use an isometric as a finisher. You're just flipping it around. I don't know. What do you think about it, Joseph? What is your feedback telling you as far as your ability to achieve your goal with that? Because this is the reason why we need to understand our fundamental objectives, folks. If we don't know the fundamental objective we're trying to achieve in our diet and our exercise habits, we have no basis for judgment on whether or not something's actually going to be good for us. We're just groping around in the dark, randomly trying things, hoping we're going to stumble across a solution through blind luck. But when we understand our fundamental objectives, everything becomes much sharper and more clear from your experience. So, what is your experience telling you, Joseph? Seriously, let us know right now. What have you done with it? Has it helped you achieve a higher level of challenging your work capacity? Do you feel like you can push yourself harder with intensity? Do you feel like it's more on the endurance side of things? What is your experience telling you from that sort of thing? Because that's going to tell you a lot more than anything I would tell you. And it's one of those things that if you don't have much experience with it, well, no one can possibly know. Again, a lot of times it's just different ways of making the same applesauce. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. It's all coming to the same kind of solution. And it's one of those things that you find for yourself. I think it's great, isometric from dynamic. Your legs are probably going to turn to lead if you do that with squats, though. If you get a couple of hard isometric squats, uh, particularly if you're like turning to lead and then you do your dynamic stuff, it's going to hit you pretty hard. So he's following up saying, I want to build muscle. Isometrics at the end give me a good stimulus in my muscle and I feel a good burn in my muscles. Yeah, very good. So remember, challenging work capacity. So what exactly does that mean? That means basically using up a lot of the energy in the muscle, pushing yourself in the acute sense in a set towards close to failure. So you're like, oh gosh, I can't really get much more. Okay, that's it, I'm done. But also in the broad sense, in the workout, where you feel like the muscle is pretty depleted too. So in context of like pull-ups, for example, if you're really challenging your work capacity, you're going to have a sharp drop off in how much you can do pretty quick. So you get like 10 reps and then 8 reps and then 7 reps, and then suddenly you're getting like struggling to get like 3. So your energy reserves in the muscle are pretty well depleted, and at that point you're done. You're done. Whether it takes you 5 sets to get there or 2, when you get there, you get there, right? So when you're looking at depleting your energy reserves, you're challenging your work capacity, you may find, Joseph, that you get it more one way or the other, and that can give you good feedback. Also, look at things more subjective too, like joint issues and stuff. Does it feel better on your joints? Do you feel like you can work your muscles better, like you're engaging your muscles better, better mind-muscle connection? What about other limiting factors like cardiovascular and endurance and stamina? Things like that. Basically, all you're looking for is this helping me challenge my work capacity better? And if the answer is yes, well, then it's going to work better for you. And if it's like, oh boy, that's really tough for me to do, well, then it may not be the best way to go about it. So take control, my friends. This doesn't mean you have to shun the experts and be like, okay, I'm not going to listen to anybody. I'm just going to do my own thing. No, that's just the lone wolf philosophy is just as foolish as complete outsourcing of the expertise, because now you're just going on whatever you're bringing to the table, and that's going to be very limited in most cases. You have to continue to get out external information, critiques, assessments. You need things coming in from your outside as well. This is why coaches like me exist, why I make videos like this. You need to learn more stuff. The key isn't it's all about within or it's all about without. It's the combination of the two. Taking information, Use it as you see fit. In Bruce Lee's old quotes, right? Adopt what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own, or something to that degree. So assess what you're doing now. What is working for you? What is not? Have the courage to break free of dogmatic restrictions according to an ideology that are running you aground. You're following a diet and you're like, this is great and everything, but man, I know they say I shouldn't eat eggs, but I really do like eggs. And I feel better in the morning if I get a good, omelet in me once in a while. Well, then you eat the eggs. To hell with what the diet says. But the science and the experts, to hell with that. Your experience matters. That's top. Always. You do something, who cares if it colors outside the lines? Even if you're bending the rules a little bit, if you're like, that really worked for me. Wow, that's what you go with. End of discussion. Doesn't matter what I think, doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what the AI says or the experts or anything like that. You can use that difference of opinion, though, as a source of introspection, though. It's like, okay, so you keep saying that this diet is the best way to burn fat and that carbs are the spawn of Satan. Yet when I eat more carbohydrates, particularly from like fruits and maybe rice and stuff, I look better, I feel better, and I perform better. Okay, there's discord there. What's going on? If you can come to the table with an inquisitive mind saying, like, what are we missing? Then you can really get to the information you need. Because a lot of times, no one is either right or wrong. It's just a matter of, is your belief or perspective complete? And it's like, yeah, okay, this guy's got this opinion. He's right. This other guy's got an opposite opinion. He's also right. What are the pieces they're each missing to put their perspectives into proper context? Because when you understand that, that's where you will understand where to put it in your own practice and again gain far more control. So thank you very much for listening, folks. Again, I'm possibly going to be doing these more on Wednesday afternoons, the audio to this podcast, of course, on your podcast directory of choice. Like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff does help me out quite a bit because this podcast is free for you, not free for me. And I sincerely appreciate it. But thank you very much as always. And check out my books. I mentioned a couple already. Progressive and Weighted Calisthenics. This is the place to start for building muscle with bodyweight training, suspension calisthenics, how to use the world's greatest portable weight machine you can take anywhere, and everything else. I got links down below to all the equipment I recommend and my books and stuff on PDF on the website, also available Kindle and paperback on Amazon. So hope you guys are going into December like a bat out of hell, and I will talk to you guys next time. Till then, be fit and live free.